Originally, I worked in a gym alongside Ryan Moore, actually, who was on, I believe, yesterday, right, Paulson?
Yep.
Yeah, so I I got an entry-level job at this high-end health club as essentially, I wasn't positioned this way, but what it turned out to be was essentially like Ryan's personal assistant when I first got hired. And that was like in 2014, 15. And I worked my way into the sales department there and ended up taking over a lot of administrative tasks for that business, including delinquency and some billing and some, some of their CRM stuff, and ended up developing a lead nurturing tool for us and a lead nurturing system so that we could set more appointments for sales opportunities for this health club to get more tours and sell more gym memberships. And so when Ryan ended up leaving to go start his own agency alongside Robb, that I'm sure they've talked a lot about their fitness agency, they ended up hiring me over to implement that same lead nurturing system and develop it in a scalable fashion so that what I was doing for this one health club as my, hourly job for their sales department, I could take and scale for the handful of clients that they had on board that they're already running Facebook ads for. And then that just grew into a more scalable system that ended up serving all the locations we helped over the course of that agency run. And now what I'm doing is I'm helping agencies in every niche use Go High Level to book more appointments for their clients and for themselves to give them more sales opportunities. So that's kind of my whole trajectory and story.
That's very exciting, and I appreciate you doing a quick intro as Robb jumped in, and welcome in, Robb. For those of you that are watching, and if this might be your first day, I'm going to ask you to jump off the call, go watch the meet and greet day, which was Friday. We had day one on Monday. Yesterday was day two. Today's the last day. Today, Haplin is going to go over the fulfillment side of some of the great things we talked about. And it's going to be really interesting for you, and you may get some ideas. Everything is not applicable to every single person and agency. What I recommend is taking the framework of what you have, what you find out and learn today, and create your own nuances without rebuilding a whole new wheel. Okay, no, don't take what we have and go re-engineer for the next 2 years and not get any sales done. Okay, that's not the purpose. Robb, give us a little insight of the fulfillment side, and let's get started.
Yeah, sure. Sorry about the tardiness. I had to do a forced Zoom update because I never click yes. So sorry about that. I just don't. All right. So where are we? Right. So I'm going to brag on Haplin here because I'm sure whatever he told you is just underserving his worth and value by probably at least tenfold. But we're here on fulfillment. So why do I have my head product developer? Why do I even have a head product developer? I mean, that's even like, you can probably sort of deduce why Haplin became my product developer based off what he's told you, but just to fully connect the dots, to just do that real fast, right? If you've been paying attention at all, like Paulson said, to previous things, which you should do first, this whole thing started because we figured out the enough bucket through Haplin's help. Okay, he was literally the yin to my yang at the health club. I was running the ads. He was lead nurturing the leads that were generated from the ads. And he was sitting there manually text messaging people using archaic tools. Just picture, trying to chip a wheel out of a stone with a hammer and a chisel. Okay. Like that's what he was kind of doing, but he was doing a good job at it. It was just using archaic tools in the gym, and him and Ryan were selling memberships from this. So all we did, guys, was figured out that enough bucket was enough. And at the time, I had no idea what that meant. Okay. I just knew that I was good at Facebook ads and they were good at nurturing the leads, getting the person to show up in person, and then having a sales opportunity and closing that person as a new customer. That's all I knew.
Also,
Okay.
Robb, before we go further into the fulfillment side, do you mind doing a quick 30-second overview of the business model high ticket up front and back end SaaS. So that way, when we go into this, there's a lot of context because a lot of people, this is their first time jumping in, just so you know.
Yeah. So, again, just to be fair to everyone who has paid attention, I'll just make this super quick. Or is this? Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's go back. Okay. So what am I talking about when I'm saying that our model is different and what I would argue is better than most models out there? Okay. In order to get what you want, not because I'm smart or I'm some genius marketer, because I'm not. Okay. Just in order to get what you want out of the business, in order to get the client what they want. That's it. Okay. I think this is a better model. Anyone wants to debate this with me, I will prove them wrong using math and historical data and the science of hindsight. Okay, like high level wouldn't be here if they didn't have good lead nurturing stuff inside that. Like there's plenty of other tools out there that do all kinds of things, including like tools that you know of. Okay. Like, I'm not going to bash anyone here, that's not the point, but it's a deadly important part of this entire thing. Okay, if you're a great marketer and you're not paying attention to lead nurturing and your client isn't, you can be the best marketer till the cows come home. Your client's probably going to quit. And they're not going to know why, and you're probably not going to know why, but now you can't use that anymore. Okay, so after today, you're not going to be able to use that excuse anymore. Everybody on board? Type a 1 or yes in the Facebook comments, please, if you're good. So on the first day, which was just Paulson interviewing me and me talking about myself, which is largely irrelevant, except for what I just talked about. We figured this out. There's data, there's years of data, there's proof, there's that high level would not have gotten funding if this was not a truth in business. The faster you follow up with the lead, the more personalized it is, the better results you get, the higher chance you have of turning them into a prospect and turning them into a customer. This is science. This is not, this has been it's been around longer than high level's been around, and that truth has been true longer than I've been around. Okay, it's never been different than that. Just the tools and the landscape change. So what I'm talking about, this is why I made this silly first grader level pyramid. Most people, what they do is they go, ads, I want to become a genius at marketing. I want to be the best advertiser on the planet. And they jump to this top pyramid because it's a shiny object and it's less boring. It's more sexy. Okay, fine, I'll give you that. But the way to build a scalable business is to focus on this bottom layer, which is enough. It's the biggest layer by far. I actually wish this graphic had it actually weighted. It's not 5 equal parts just getting skinnier to the top. This bottom bucket is like 80 or 90% of the volume of this entire pyramid. So I'll work on making that better. Okay. So when you make a promise, so we talked about pricing and packaging, change your promise to what the client wants, which is they want a full calendar full of sales opportunities. They don't want to talk about SEO, SSL sockets, fetch FTP layers, API calls, KPIs, NFTs, like whatever the heck you want to throw in there. I don't care. We're full of gobbledygook in this industry. That's fine. Just give the client what they want. Even if they tell you they want SEO, great. Why do you want SEO? I think it will bring me more customers. I'm just going to shorten that for you real fast. Right? And they could spend an hour telling that to you, but at the end of the day, they do not care about SEO. The only reason why they say they care is because of the result that it gets. Okay. So what is the best thing since slice spread, especially now that high level exists? Because I did all this stuff without high level existing before. I would have made exponentially more money if it had then. So, Paulson, you owe me a big fat check. Thank you very much. But this is it. The enough bucket is a huge bucket. And most people skip to the fancy stuff and the novelty stuff. And it's a 1% or below optimization step, guys. It's a truth at this point. It's not even up for debate or opinion. Okay. Anyone who says otherwise, I can easily prove wrong in like 5 seconds, but I'm not here to waste your time. Go back and look at the first few videos. All right. So that's it. So how do we do that? How do we do that? Why do we recommend database reactivation and lead nurturing using SaaS first? Why do we do that? Well, you can charge high ticket for it because it's worth a ton of money to the client. Okay, you are directly affecting their ability to sell more stuff. And it's trackable thanks to high level. There's a dashboard, there's pipelines. It's all provable. And the thing that the clients aren't doing is looking right under their nose and nurturing their previous database, people who entered their database at some point in time, could be 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last month, whatever. Okay. But they enter the database. It's not a no forever. It's just a no right now. And they're not properly following up with these people. Okay. Additionally, they've got I'm moving on to pillar 2 now. Pillar 1 is database reactivation. Reactivate old leads, specifically using SMS, works great nowadays. Pillar 2 is nurturing the leads that they already have. Okay. Most small business owners, they do not follow up fast. There's a study out there. You can Google this. It's salesinsider.com. Speed to lead study they did with, like, I think it was like Harvard or MIT or some crazy university. People above my pay grade did this study, and they found that in business, if you follow up with the lead within 5 minutes across like every industry, they just did this huge study on it. Okay. Follow up with the lead within 5 minutes, you have like a several 1,000% chance, higher chance of connecting with that lead. Within 15 minutes or less, it was something like 900%. All right. And then after that, there's a chart and it just falls off like a cliff. All right. And so if you solve just those 2 problems, you can probably fill your client's calendar, which is worth a ton of money to them. And it's not that hard for you to do. Halpin's going to show you how to do it today. All right. So we're not even talking about ads yet. That's the furthest thing from the, that's the hardest thing to do. So why would you start with that first? All right. And just to kind of put the cherry on top of that, I've never met a client who's doing those 2 things well before they talk to us. Never. Not a single, help thousands of small business locations. So you can assume that they're not doing it right. Okay. You can assume that they need help with this. All right. Even the ones that we've taught this to, they try to get fancy. They try to go to the most complicated step first, the top of the pyramid, and they get out of their lane, and it's a disaster. Okay. They need your help. You can charge high ticket for this because you can directly put money in their pocket and allow them to do what they want to do, which is to get sales opportunities in a steady stream every single day, every week, every month, and allow them to close more customers without the headache and the worry of doing all this fancy stuff, etc. Okay. So on that note, today is, and at a certain point, I'm going to let Haplin take this conversation over, but the context of him teaching you the back-end SaaS and why this is a high ticket service and why this assembly line fulfillment model is the best place to start. I don't care if you're selling high ticket websites, SEO, Facebook ads, it doesn't matter. All that should come after these 2 things that he's showing you: database reactivation and lead nurturing. Using the SaaS hooks now with high level makes it way easier than it's ever been. Like way easier. I'm talking exponentially easier. It's not just a little bit, it's a lot. Okay. So when he starts talking, think about it in this context. This is an extension of the sales process. What do I mean by that? Well, fulfillment and retention is 2 things. We want clients to pay and feel good about it. You feel good about their decision because we're going to hook them up, right? They're going to make, AKA, they're going to make more money than they paid us, and they're going to do it for a sustainable amount of time. So we want them to be happy about their buying decision, get a quick return on investment for their decision. And then we want them to stay because they realize how good this is and how easy it makes their life. Okay. So we don't just want them to pay and bounce. The average retainer for a Facebook ads agency, for an advertising agency to a local business, is 1.9 months. Terrible. Terrible, right? We want them to pay and stay. The stay part is where you make all of your profit. All right. Another business truth, another business law. Like the first couple months, when you add up the time, energy, training, client onboarding calls, like all that stuff, you don't get into real profit. It's actually good profit because it's a service, but you don't get into real profit numbers until you're 2 months plus. Really don't. And if you can hold them for a year, if you could just do that, that's 10 months of profit for 2 months of, startup at the beginning. Okay. So we want clients not only just to pay, but we want them to stay. So we're going to cover how you do that today. So you get a yes on the phone. We went through sales yesterday with Ryan. You get a yes to database reactivation on the phone, hang up the phone. What do you do next? Halpin's going to teach you everything today. Make sense?
On that note, Rob, just so people can understand why we care a lot about SaaS and why we enable this whole business model, is because even if you provide a white glove service, guys, I don't care how good you are at Facebook ads or Google ads, 76% of marketers get fired within the first 3 months, regardless of the delivery and regardless of the results you would do. My dental agency, we would fly into their locations, do photography, videography, spend a week coaching them up on back then another platform, right? And just really helping them understand all kinds of stuff, whining and dining them, providing them gifts, shooting testimonials, like literally making them feel like a rock star as a team. I would do that all day long as my onboarding process in 2013 to 15. And guess what? They still cancel, even if I got them 100 plus leads. And we knew historically that agencies are the first one on the chopping block. But you know who is always winning is the software companies, right? Any industry you go to, the churn is less than 3%. When we saw a ton of high-level agencies packaging up high-level by themselves and selling it as a system, we were like, man, these guys are crushing it. Why don't we make it possible for everybody? And that's why we created a financial play in the Pro Plan, which honestly is just a subscription creator, and we manage your subscriptions for you. That's really what the Pro Plan really is. Okay. Now, Rob and Ryan and Haplin, guess what? They created a hybrid model that's even more attractive in my mind, instead of just the standard SaaS, which is $300 here, $200 here, $100 here. It's going to be quite a while before you can get to serious revenue to build out a team, right? With the high ticket SaaS, you can charge them $5K upfront for DBR, back them into a $300 or a $500, or if you do Eliza or do sales as a service, you can even charge $1,000 a month to actually close those leads if you want to. So I just wanted to give you guys really full context before we go into the fulfillment side of high ticket SaaS and how they're backing it into it, so you're aware of what's at stake. Okay, when our competitors look at high level, you know what I get excited about? Nobody knows we're building an army of software companies here, right? We're not building one brand. We're building 17,000 software companies simultaneously. It's a big endeavor, and you guys are all part of it. And there's so many different business models. Okay, pay attention to the high ticket business model. This is the most attractive as an agency. You can be a cash cow up front, and you slowly back them into a $300 subscription. Okay, I just want to give you guys full context. Go ahead, Rob.
Yep. So, just to give you guys further context, we never flew to clients and wined and dined them. We never sent a proposal. We never chased after clients, 535 clients. There are situations where that is a good idea. Just doing lead gen now, that's not a good idea, okay, anymore. It's just not, okay? So what is a good idea? Well, giving the client what they want with this, we don't have clients who love us like as people very often, okay? We get the client the result they want, they're happily pay us, okay? That is the extent to which I expect the relationship to go. If it goes further than that, that's fine, okay? If that's a bonus, okay? I have become friends with some of our clients. But the thing that you have to realize is there's a lot of things that you can do, right? Sorry, my mic was kind of pointed up. There's a lot of things that you can do. It doesn't mean that you have to do or that you even should do all of those things. All right. So the way that we're teaching you does not require a whole lot of courting it's just what they want. We know that every small business owner, number one, is bad at this. That's what we know by the numbers. Are there exceptions? Okay, fine. Yes. But it's like finding a needle in a haystack. So you can just assume that they all have this problem, all of them. Not kidding. Not even close to joking on that. All right. Thing two is that if you can provide the one thing that they need and want, it's worth a very, very large sum of money to them now and in the future. Therefore, you can charge high ticket to it. Okay. If you give them a tool, just the tool, all right, and you expect for them to go and, like, again, the hammer analogy, you say, okay, instead of you going and buying a hammer at Home Depot, I'm going to give you a hammer that you buy from me because I'm selling my hammer and it's better than other hammers out there. Let's say they agree with that. Fine. Here you go. Right. That does not mean that they know how to build a house from the ground up and build a masterpiece house from it. Those are two very different things. Okay. High level is a tool. Is it a tool that buys you a ton of benefit, time saving, money making things? Absolutely. And it does for your client too. But the missing piece is not the tool. Okay. It just isn't. You know, I'm the biggest believer in high level you'll ever meet, but I still believe this to this day. Okay. If someone signs up for high level and never does anything with it, they never build a house with it, then what good is the tool in the first place? It's just sitting in their truck or in their car or in their garage. Who cares? Right? I know the high level folks, they're obsessed with this. They're like, dude, if people can just do one thing with this awesome tool, if everyone did that, game changer, right? So you have to understand, a lot of you discount that what you're about to see because it's simple. All right. And I said this from the beginning. And if you discount it, you're missing out. And if you don't discount it and you pay attention, you can make a ton of money, like a ton, millions in revenue. Okay. And a lot of recurring revenue. You can build the life you want around your business. That's all I got to say about that. Okay. So what are we going to cover today? So Haplin's here. I'm going to brag on him hard before I let him cut into his goodness. So get your pen and pencils ready. He's going to dive in and show you guys some, like, literally how to build campaigns and the do's and don'ts of how to do database reactivation and lead nurturing today. So if you follow the steps and you want to click along, you're going to be able to do that today. Okay. So we're going to cover a few things. Filling a client's calendar is by far the most valuable thing, which garners high ticket. I just covered that, right? Haplin's going to talk about why lead nurturing is an extension of the sales process. How many of you have had a client who says, sounds great, here's my money, I'm signing up, and then they get to the onboarding call or you build a campaign for them and they go, I'm not connecting the dots. I'm not seeing the value in this anymore. I got cold feet. Guys, fulfillment is an extension of the sales process. And if you don't view it that way, you're going to lose. Okay. You cannot just get the yes and be like, fine, I'm just going to send them a Google sheet and they're going to like love me forever and keep paying me forever. You cannot do that. Not nowadays. There was a time where you could probably, and if you got away with that, that's fine. But that's not today. All right. Today's different. Haplin's going to do a full walkthrough of database reactivation and lead nurturing, step by step. So what you learned to sell yesterday, you can go fulfill on today. All right. So get your high level account logins ready. If you want to follow along step by step, if you're watching this on the replay, that's fine. He's going to go kind of fast, but the replay will allow you to pause, scrub, do whatever you want to do. Okay. So we're going to get into the tech, the specifics. And he's also going to tell you what the do's and don'ts are of what to say when you book appointments, because Haplin's booked like hundreds of thousands of appointments at this point. And he's trained thousands of agency owners who have had, you know, hundreds to thousands of locations themselves. And he's looked at so many campaigns that it's not even funny. So he can help you shorten that curve and help you stay in your lane and get results without all the trial and error of doing that yourself, or having your client do themselves, or having your client tell you what they think they should do. That's usually the worst advice, or else they would have already had success with this. Let's just be real. Okay. So how do we make clients happy? How do we fulfill for clients and make them happy? AKA they feel good about their initial investment with you and they continue to invest with you into the future. Give them what they truly want. We talked about this yesterday in the sales process. They can say, I want, you know, llama skin covered chairs in my lobby, and that will make my business grow. They want a full calendar. They can say, I want, you know, cartwheeling midgets that are jumping through fire rings and, you know, dancing on top of a chocolate covered slide. They want a full calendar. Like, just figure out, we've heard the most ridiculous stuff about what people think will grow their business. Okay. I'm being a little bit I'm exaggerating. Okay.
I'd like to
But
hear like 6 more examples from you on that, please, Rob. Can you just keep going on
sure, an oil slick
chocolate covered-
downhill road that you slippery slide down and then jump off into a pile full of fuzzy bunnies. You know, like you know, the effery. Okay, like Paulson asked me not to cuss, but the effery that goes on in these people's mind is just out of sight. It's just like, it's so much simpler than this. Okay, you just need a full calendar and sell the same thing over and over again. It's not get rich quick, Mr. Client. It's just get rich. You do the same thing every day until you get blue in the face, and then you hire someone else to do that. And they do the same thing every day. Happen. Were your conversations selling gym memberships any different each time? Like, did it at some point you were like, this is the 10th time I'm saying this. I've figured out that I just keep saying this again and again, and I make a bunch of money selling gym memberships.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think the actual sales process, the in-person, the live talking sales process is algorithmic, then or formulaic, whatever, just wait until it's, you know, SMS lead nurturing. And it's
Dude,
like it is literally just copy paste.
I'm just telling you guys, it's copy paste. You can just say the words and like tune off and not listen, because they're going to say the same thing that you've heard 1,000 times. You know, and the only reason why people stray, because they get bored or they think it needs to be fancy or whatever. It doesn't. Okay. So every time that a client tells you what they want, think about it in the context of, okay, I know you're only saying this because you want this thing. It's a full calendar. What is the easiest way to get a full calendar? It's our 3 pillars. You have to start with the 2 pillars first, right? Start with priority 1. Their warmest source is always a database. They've already established database. These people have already been in. They've already had contact with the business. You do not pass go until you exhaust this list for the time being. Okay. So let's say it takes a whole month to run their database, which you can come back to later, by the way, because not everyone's going to respond to this. All right. So you've got more gas in the tank for later on that. But the 2 to 10% that respond, you book them in for an appointment. What did that cost you? Almost nothing. Okay. And you just typing in the same thing over and over again that Haplin's going to teach you how to say back today in the chat. Okay. And then let's say like it's a small database. It only lasts a month of the calendar of the client's calendar being full. By the way, do you think any marketer before you has ever filled your client's calendar for free, basically, before you at this point for 1 month? Do you think any other marketer has put tens of thousands of dollars, multiple tens of thousands, maybe 6 figures into the pocket in month 1 without advertising spend? Guys, this is just, it's like the best thing since sliced bread. I'm just telling you. Okay. If you have a really good database, this can last 3 months or longer, but let's just say it lasts 1 month. Okay. That alone would be worth it to them to pay your retainer for the entire quarter. Okay. So get good at DR. If you don't get good at DR, you're not going to be able to be good at the next steps. I'm going to show you. So Haplin's also going to show you the SaaS hooks. So, okay, we're sending this offer out to the database and we're booking appointments and you guys are getting sales from it. That means the offer is working and the messaging is working, Mr. Client. What's the next lowest hanging fruit? It's SaaS hooks. So let's get every lead that's incoming on your website chat. We're going to text message enable your phone number. We're going to replace the forms on your website. We're going to integrate high level to go into the conversation stream on your Facebook business page because you're getting messages there that are just getting slept on. Person's not being followed up with quickly, if at all. Your Google My Business page, we can integrate that with high level so that those people who message, they're not sitting there waiting and going on to the next result in the search results and hiring the first person they connect with, because that's a thing. Right? And you just capture all those. Guys, most of the time, if you just do those 2 things, their calendar is full. Why are you even talking about ads yet? their calendar's full and that's what they want, you don't even have to run about, like, look, have we run ads? Yes. Did we run ads for a lot of clients? Yes. Okay, but only after we exhausted these two things. That's how you make a client happy. All right, they don't know what they want. If they knew what they wanted or needed, they wouldn't even be talking to you. All right, I cannot stress this enough. I looked at the comments. There's so many wacky questions, like, and I'll answer them all. Okay, I'm not avoiding any questions. It's just like, I can tell that some of you are so far off and straight off the path that it's just like, bro, you don't get it yet. Sis, you don't get it yet. Okay, like, you can make a easily whatever size business that makes you happy from just doing those two things. Okay, you could pour gas on the fire after you've built the kindling and now it's starting to flame. You could pour gas on the fire with ads after that. But what's the use in pouring gas when the kindling hasn't even had a chance to spark? You just, the liquid will put out the spark. Then you have no fire. Why would you do that? All right. I'm just drilling this home, because if there's one thing you take away from this, by the time it's done, Haplin's going to drop the bombs, promise. But I'm serious. Like, Haplin I pay him a lot of money just to sit around and click buttons all day and create wealth out of nowhere. He's a true alchemist. Okay. But so it's simple, easy to overlook.
Haplin,
Massively helpful. It's just, you cannot build a better model than this, in my opinion. So
What up, Paulson?
Haplin, do you want to share your screen? I want to make sure you're a co-host, so you could if you want to.
It says you cannot start screen share while other participant is sharing.
Got it.
So while you're figuring that out, let me just run through these slides, because conceptually I want them to understand before you dive into tactics. It's really hard to go backwards after that.
Yep.
So again, why is the calendar filling worth so much? Most local businesses have inefficient lead generation processes. I call this the leaky bucket syndrome. Okay. They get leads, but they don't follow up with them timely, and they don't follow up with them in a personalized two-way conversation typically. Okay. And Haplin's going to show you all the common mistakes that we see between marketers and small business owners, frankly. We teach you the right way. You know how to get good results from this. And that is where the money is. That's why you're different. That's why you're better. That's why you can charge high ticket. That's why it's a no-brainer for them to pay you this money. Okay. Most small business owners, from a lead generation standpoint, I'm not saying, it may or may not be like this for other areas of their business, but from a lead generation and a lead nurturing standpoint, they're incredibly unorganized. They're not tracking their top level KPIs, which is only 2 or 3 things. They're just not tracking it. So how can you get good at it? It's like, oh, I think I have a weight problem, but you've never stepped on the scale. How can you know that if you don't have a scale? Right? If you can't measure anything, you can't get better at it. Right? So when an ad manager comes in, let's say someone's just pitching them ads and starts running ads, he or she is fitting a leaky bucket. What does that mean? All right. Well, how much water do you need to fill a bucket that does not have a hole in it versus a bucket that has several holes in it? How much more water do you need to fill the one with holes in it? Like, riddle me this, Batman. Right? Again, this is so simple. We worked with clients who had great facilities, large budgets or larger budgets, and some of the clients, it was always a more mentality. So we want to up our ad spend because this is working fine. And we were like, dude, what happened to all the leads that we sent to you? Like, what about those people? I mean, I'm happy to spend more if that's what you want to do, but what happened? They're like, oh yeah, it just, it was like the small percentage they got, they were like satisfied with. And then they wanted to discount all the people that did not get captured, followed up with properly, or who it was just like, it's not a no today, it's, might be yes tomorrow, which is insanely wasteful. It's crazy. Right. And so those people had a leaky bucket. So we were literally trying to find clients who had such a big appetite that they did not care how leaky their bucket was. Their just attitude was more. Oh, I need a media buyer because, I need an ads agency because I just need more all the time and I'm too busy to mess with it. And I just want to throw money at the problem. Guys, guess how well that works long term? At some point, it's usually pretty quick. Just wake up one day, they're like, yeah, I like you, Rob, but no thanks. Not anymore. Right? Or I like you, Paulson, but thanks for whining and dining me. Buy me a $80 cowboy steak, best steak of my life. Love you, man. But for some reason, my gut tells me, we're going to go back to sending postcards out in MailChimp. Like, what? So guys, you plug the leaky bucket first, and it's really easy to fill the bucket with just a little more water. That's the whole point. That's why this is so powerful. Okay. So
Rob, I
filling their
think
calendar. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think my favorite part about this, sorry to interrupt. My favorite part about the whole DBR thing and calendar filling mentality is you can speak in the love language of the client, which is the end result. Like a lot of us speak in the language of marketers. Like you say, hey, we'll send you this many leads, or we'll send you this many phone calls, or we'll send you this many people traffic to your website. Instead, you can say, hey, listen, I've got 10 members on your calendar. What in the world did you do with them? Right? Like you can
Well, it's
speak to the end result of what they're wanting, which is people in the door and nothing else matters. That's
I
the
think
only KPI that matters.
and it's a key differentiator, right? Like if someone's selling just software, they're usually a bigger company. If someone's selling ads management, they could be smaller, but the easiest way to differentiate is say, well, what about this versus that? And you go, well, that's cool, but which one of those people actually cares about bringing you what you really want? Well, what do you mean by that, Rob? Right? And if you come in like that and say, well, software is just a tool, ads management is just a service. But the difference between me and those guys is I'm obsessed with getting you actual sales appointment booked in your calendar so you can make more sales directly and measurably from my service. Are either of those two doing that for you? And if they say no, then that's easy. They already understand it. And if they say, well, I don't know, or I think they do, then it's your job to differentiate and be like, well, no, the software company is going to tell you to follow up with all the leads. What if you're in the middle of a surgery, doctor? Are you going to drop what you're doing and respond to a lead in 5 minutes? I doubt it. Right? I mean, you tell me, but I doubt it. What about the Facebook ad agency down the street or the Yellow Pages that sells it for super cheap or whatever? Do you think that guy gives a shit about how many people come into your business to actually give you money? Sorry, I cussed. Darn it. But that's how I talk to people about this thing because they need to hear this, right? Like I care. That's the reason why we do it this way. It's the only reason why I do it this way. It's the only reason why I get paid so much by so many other people who look just like you is because it's worth it. They go to bed, they sleep like a baby, they wake up the next day, their calendar's full. Who doesn't want that? We're doing it ethically, we're doing it compliantly, we're doing it without ad spend largely. If we need ads, we can do that, but that's just gas on the fire. Let's light the embers, create the flame in a nice, easy way to where you and your team can manage it well. And 4 weeks from now, you're probably gonna have your best month ever. Like that's literally the way that I would talk about it in sales conversation, right? So what am I talking about? I mean, is it sales conversation? Yes, but the fulfillment part, they can understand. Oh, so all you're doing is reactivating these people and putting them in my account. Yeah, that's all I'm doing. Anyone can understand that, right? Are we going to use a tool? Yes. Yeah, we are. They're like, oh, okay. So you're going to use like a hammer to build a house. That kind of makes sense. Right? That doesn't mean that they necessarily want to go to Home Depot, buy the hammer and learn how to build a house on their own. They want to pay you to provide them the end result. People hire a contractor to provide them the end result. I've hired several contractors. I don't know half of what they're doing. I don't understand electrician work, plumbing, tools. I just, here, man, pay me, or I'm going to pay you to get the new room done or the patio or whatever, right? So, all right. So guys, you can assume that it's a mess on this front. Just reiterate from last time. The client has weak tracking and attribution. They usually just asking the receptionist who has no sales experience usually to track how many calls, and they're not even tracking it. They're just like, if you ask a simple question about it, They usually can't answer. They really can't. So they just don't know how profitable this profit center can be. So you're offering to help them do that, put money in their pocket to learn how to do that. And then your fee becomes super justifiable. It's a no-brainer. It's a slam dunk. And the other thing I would say about differentiation is when they say, well, what do you mean you're going to fill my calendar? It's like, yeah, it's just, you have leads. Okay, that's not the issue, right? You don't need more leads. You have leads, right? You already have leads. You have leads coming to your website. You have leads in your database. You already have leads. Do you understand what I mean by that? Oh, okay, yeah, I have like a list in MailChimp. Okay, great. Or in my CRM or whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, you already have leads. Yes, can we agree on that? Yes, can agree on that. Look, 80% of buyers go with the first contact. Okay, and the data shows, this was a study done. It's well documented. This was done like 12, 13 years ago at this point. It's never changed, that speed to lead wins. Okay, and that's the only problem we're solving. And chances are you cannot solve it yourself, or else you already would have done it because you're busy, or you're in surgery, or you're teaching a class, or whatever the case may be. And that would be a dumb use of your time, because a surgery is a high value thing. Teaching class is a high value thing. Cracking a back is a high value thing. Doing a full dental implant is a high value thing. You don't want to sit around messing around trying to book someone in, do you? No. Right? Make sense? So database reactivation, Haplin's going to teach you. Okay. Take the database, send a message out, book in appointments for people that are ready today who weren't ready yesterday or the day before or the month before. Okay. It's also going to show you what we can go over this after he's done, but conceptually, I want you guys to understand what the SaaS hooks are. These are free leads that the client's already getting. Same thing. All these people are largely being ignored. They're not getting followed up with quickly, Mr. Client. These are leads that will give you money if you respond to them quickly. If you don't, they're going to go to the next search result in Google. They're going to go to the next Facebook post in Facebook, or whatever the case may be, right? And they're going to find a solution. I don't really care who cuts my hair. I'm bald, but if I want my head shaved at a barber, I'll go to the next result. Okay, your calendar's full. I'm going to the next guy. Fine. No love lost. Okay. That's consumerism today. They have to understand that. So all you're doing is plugging these little holes. You're identifying holes. And you're like, this one's losing you the most water. So I'm going to help you plug that, and that's worth money to you. The more water you have in the tank, the more money you make. Simple, like dead simple. All right. So I know I've talked a lot, but Haplin's going to show you how to fill the enough bucket. This is worth high ticket, guys. Filling your client's calendar is the highest value thing you can do by far, right? Short of you owning the business, which most people don't want to do. So with that, Haplin, dude, bring us the goodness. Everybody should be ready to log into their Go High Level account, follow along, take notes, right? Haplin, have you got your screen share enabled?
Yeah, I think you just got to end yours, I think.
Oh, yeah,
we're good to go. Yep.
Word. Okay, good. Good.
Okay, go. Wow.
Let's go.
Did we build that up enough, Rob? I'm so nervous now. So many promises made. I got a lot to deliver on.
Yeah.
But let me go ahead and share my
Sorry, not sorry.
Okay. I'm working off a doc here. I just made some notes for myself. Yeah, we probably won't get into the specific tech of all like the SaaS setup. I mean, like you went over so much that we could go over in the next 12 hours, and I would talk for hours about this. You know why? Because I'm paid by the hour. Not really. That's a joke. But
the SaaS hooks all lead to the lead nurturing though.
Yeah,
so just cover the lead nurturing part. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I want to talk about some appointment setting principles. I made myself some notes to go over. If we don't get to all of it, that's totally fine. But I promise I'm going to get the best I got to you guys. For running database reactivation, we're going to talk about all of this in the context of database reactivation, and all of these principles apply basically the same way to any inbound lead source, and that includes ads. I actually think about hooks and ads almost exactly the same in terms of lead nurturing, because once they're in the system, they have a conversation going, you're trying to book an appointment. It honestly doesn't matter all that much from an appointment booker standpoint, from a technician standpoint, if they came from a paid source or an organic source, we treat them the same way when it comes to booking them as an appointment. And that way is the same way as database reactivation as well. So I'm just going to dive in. I've got our white label set up here, and I'm actually going to head over to one of my demo accounts just so I can put visuals to some of this stuff. I trust that most people on this call know how to create a new workflow. I'm not going to be walking you through the go high level sign up process or Twilio integration. That's it. We're gonna focus on the stuff that really matters. So you can always get help from support, and I'm sure Paulson can direct you with some of the onboarding pieces or some of the super beginner stuff. But when it comes to actually running DR, I've seen it done quite a few different ways, and there's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. And we're going to get into that. I want to show you guys, when we run database reactivation, we start with the offer message, and I'm going to just walk you guys through the logic of crafting it. And before I actually even get into this, I'll just show you what that actually looks like. Here's an example. And it just goes to show you how much more important the strategy and the thought is than even the tech itself. I mean, High Level is a wonderful tool, but check out this database reactivation offer. It's one text, and then we wait, and then the opt-in keywords get them in. But this is not complicated, is my point. It's basically one SMS, and it just asks them a question. And this SMS is not complicated either. It's short, right? It's very short, and it's conversational, and it's so easy. There's not a master's degree, an MFA, or a copywriting specialty or anything like that that's gone into this process. This is something that anybody can do, everybody should be doing. So let's get into some of the principles here. First, I already covered, is short, B, conversational, C, direct polarizing question, respect the lead's attention, respect your own marketing channel. You want a direct polarizing question because if you open up a conversation too much, you get into basically taking over your client's customer support channels. And it's a really, really important principle to bifurcate that to get yourself out of support. This is because, one, it's probably not responsible on your client's part to have you running their customer support. They probably don't want that. It's probably not a good representation of the business at that point. So it's not really a beneficial service to them anyways. But two, it's not helpful for you. You as a marketing agency are not going to be scaling your business via answering every question under the sun. So we ask a direct polarizing question. And in this case, I just have it. This is a generic walk-in offer. So we've just got, today we're giving out a few free offers. Would you like one? Boom. It's a really quick, hardcore yes or no. It's polite. It's not off-putting. It's not too abrupt, but it is pretty hardcore in terms of its polarization. You will still get lots of different types of questions, and it's important that we have a good strategy for dealing with that. But at least from our end, we want to do everything that we can to just simplify and clarify and polarize opt-ins from opt-outs. A couple other things we need is an opt-out clause, and we want to only send one. Like I said, this whole workflow is only one message, because in my experience, what happens if you take a new list and you blast out an offer to it, SMS is powerful enough that if you're doing it correctly, the people who want it will say yes. The people who have moved away are no longer relevant or opting out, they're going to opt out. And most of the people who ghost, well, first of all, most people will ghost, and that's totally fine. That's the nature of the channel. But continuing to hit them up turns, it's very hard for that to not be pestering, especially if you're representing, if this is the first activity you're doing for a new client, and the first time they're getting a new message from a phone number they don't recognize, which is, the first time you onboard. When you onboard a new client and run DR for the first time, that's always going to be the case. Right? You really don't want to pester them. You want to ease them into that process because this is a new kind of dimension to the relationship that they have with the business that you're also introducing. So what we're saying is, we've got this offer. Would you like it? What we're not saying is, hey, this is this business, and now 3 to 4 times a year, we're going to be getting in contact with you and re-engaging you in this business, regardless of where you came from, how long you've been on the list. And we're going to keep on doing that until you've become a recurring customer of ours. or until you tell us to stop. That's what we're saying here. And in that context, we really want to be careful with how the lead feels about that, because if we're giving something away that's not super valuable and we're hitting them up multiple times about it, there's just so much to, especially the way SMS is changing in the way that there's more and more spam out there. I'll talk about spam in a second, but with the way that's changing, there's just a lot more sensitivity. And in my experience, if you hit people up more than once, like in a day, or once every day or whatever, if I'm a lead and I look at my phone and I ghost the first one, I get the second one, I'm much less likely to say, oh yeah, I forgot to respond, I really want that, let's go ahead and do it, versus, geez, okay, this number I don't recognize, it's a business I remember, but I haven't had conscious thoughts about in a little while, and are they going to text me every day? The reality is no, or hopefully not. If you're texting everyone every day, all you're going to do is just burn the list. So that's why we only send one. We don't pester the leads. All you'll do is increase opt-outs. Most people will not respond, and that's fine, because they're in the database, they're in the rhythm of database reactivation and list stewardship. That's going to, like I said, continue to follow up with them every 2 or 3 months until they either buy or they opt out. And it's fine if they do opt out. Okay, other principles of a really good offer. Use a powerful offer, use a powerful and irresistible offer. The actual thing you're giving away should be as valuable as possible. We won't get too deep into offer creation right now, but the bigger the better, and the better the offer, the better the whole strategy basically rests on the offer. We're actually stripping out as much as we can besides just the offer. And if you have a good enough excuse to get people re-engaged with the business, then you'll have more people doing that. And if you give away nothing, then you'll probably have not a lot of people taking advantage of it. But if you do all the above to a quality list, you'll get lots of people responding positively to it. So this is kind of a generic template where it doesn't even specify the offer. This is for any appointment where the lead would be walking in. There's 3 appointment types: walk-in, phone call, and home visit, where the client actually goes out to visit the lead's house, such as to do an appraisal or an estimate or something like that for home services. But let's go over an example really quick. I actually just shared this example in a team meeting today. This is from an actual agency that I'm working with right now. I got this email literally yesterday, and it was like, hey, can you take a look at this? I set up this DR message and I want you to make sure that it's good. And I'm like, okay, that's what I'm here to do. And I changed the names, obviously, just so that we wouldn't know who that is. But this is the example that he gave me. Hello, this is Haplin Milgram Hills from Milgram Hills Pressure Washing. We appreciate you using us in the past. We are currently scheduling service appointments for the spring. Just a reminder, we offer pressure washing, roof washing, soft washing, concrete cleaning, and junk removal. Gosh, I'm like getting tired just reading this. We are running a special of $100 off any service over $400, or $50 off a $325 service for anyone who schedules a service with us between February 15th and March 31st. Please respond to this text so we can set up either a face-to-face meeting or a phone call meeting. We look forward to hearing from you soon. There's a lot going on here that like so much, but the main takeaway that I mean, we can see how it doesn't follow a lot of these rules, and so you can put those pieces together. But the thing I bolded here is SMS offers are not advertisements. Even if they technically are, it's not good to think of them as advertisements. If you think of them as advertisements, you'll lose the advantages SMS was meant to give you in the first place. The advantages of SMS are way more attention is paid in them. They're conversational and they're more intimate. People, that's more of a cultural construct. I mean, these days you could send an email as quickly and easily as a text message, but people are just used to actually having back and forth conversations via text, and emails, the sort of thing that you get to, even if you get to 2 or 3 times a day, it's still just a slower conversation and it's not as intimate, it's more formal. But if you send out a message like this, you're taking advantage of the attention that you have, and you're probably really stoked to know that, you know, text messages are 1,200% more likely to get open than an email, whatever the stat is. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But you're absolutely giving up 2 things, which is intimacy and conversational nature. I mean, it is saying, please respond to this text. So I guess it's technically trying to take advantage of the conversational nature, but it's really doing a very, very poor job on the intimacy front. We want to make people feel like they're on the inside of something. If somebody's looking at their phone and they have the same experience as they're looking at a billboard, they're going to do what everyone does when they see a billboard, which is drive right past it. And I mean, 1 out of 10,000 people who drive past the billboard might take action sometime in the next year, and that's great for billboards. But for trying to drive results with SMS, you have so many more advantages. The chief one, the principal one, being taking advantage of this intimacy factor. You can make people feel like they are on the inside of something, like they have they have a connection to the business. And that has a bit to do with Ashley here. And I typically change the name so that it's coming from somebody who doesn't have to take responsibility for a conversation they didn't have later on down the sales pipeline. But let's take this example and make it a little bit better.
Quick question for you, Haplin, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Paulson.
So context, do you allow the clients to dictate this messaging at all in the onboarding process or pre-sale process or fulfillment process? Does the client ever give you input, or is that even a practice that you guys have?
No, we never take. Sorry, when I said this came from another agency we were helping is trying to set up their stuff.
No, I understand that. What I'm saying is, for your fitness clients, do the fitness owners tell you what the messaging is, or do you tell them, hey, we just handled that? That's not something that they would even take part in.
Oh yeah, it's 100% the second one.
Okay, cool. So you dictate basically the messaging that's conversational, so you're not letting the clients determine what it is. Second, do you have like go ahead.
Well, all I was going to add is that, by default, we've already got our stuff snapshotted out till the cows come home, and it's using our, appropriate merge fields and stuff. So we're not customizing anything. If the client makes us think about it, or they really want to feel like they're in control, or they've done a lot of marketing or whatever. This is a story Rob loves to tell about me. Like I'll set it all up and I'll get their DR ready to go. And then I will send them like, here's the offer. Like I'll just email them and be like, I won't get them into the system. I won't show them the back end of workflows or whatever, but I'll give them I'll send them a test and I'll just be like, yeah, just tested this. We're ready to launch tomorrow. Excited for it. Here's what the offer is going to look like. If they're like that type of person who really wants to know. And then beyond that, if they say they want to change it, or they're giving me feedback or pushback or whatever, oh, this wouldn't work well, I think we should go with this. And you just ask them, well, why would you want to do that? And they say whatever they have to say. And at the end of the day, they're paying you because you have the answers. They're paying you so that they can give you the answers. If you already had the answers, why wouldn't you just do this yourself?
Right. So I just want to double check, and because that's a context question that I get quite often. The other question is, you're uploading their database into your own account, right? Essentially, or do you set up a separate account for them and it's uploaded into high level, right? And do you have like a test volume that you recommend? Like sometimes when we run DBRs, we'll just do like 50 people at first as a small segment, see and make sure like there's like a good flow. They're ready for like the volume of appointments or inbound calls or whatever. Do you have a test volume that you recommend, or does that not matter in small business for you guys?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, so when Rob first hired me and we had just a handful of clients, and I was just, like the first client I worked with, I was simultaneously treating it as a test and R&D. Like every client was an R&D opportunity for me at the beginning. But what the genius of Rob's model and why this worked for us really well on a lot of different fronts, not just on how to run DR, all this is incredibly important for DR, but the whole thing, sales process, sales consulting, Facebook ads, targeting, all the different factors that go into getting good results for these folks, is that Rob just decided to work with this basically the same person. He figured out his avatar that he's going to help, and then we figured out how to help that avatar beautifully and reliably, and then we didn't ever have to do what you're talking about ever again. We did what you're talking about for about a month or two, and then we never did it again.
Got it. Thanks for answering that, man. Let's go right back into the script here. So you're taking this down and simplifying it and making it more conversational, right?
Yep. And so there's a couple rules that it follows. I mean, this this bad example didn't even have the contact's name in it. I wish I didn't have to say that. I guess I should have added it up here. Reference the name, use merge fields. They're beautiful. You do need to introduce yourself. That's a compliance issue when you're representing a business. You introduce yourself. So we have that in there. And we distilled all this stuff into one quick question. It's basically, it's almost templatable. It's got a few leftover vouchers for $100 off any pressure washing job or other service, any interest. So I say leftover vouchers because vouchers are a thing. So it's usually really good to give away a thing, something that you can imagine holding, something that's tangible. Even if the office doesn't have any physical vouchers, just buyer psychology wise, you've got a thing. And then when they opt in, you could send an image along with the first lead nurturing message that's got, I used Google Drawings to give away our 10-day passes for these fitness facilities was our main offer. But so vouchers is good. And leftover, I mean, this is Ashley, the gal from the office with a few leftover vouchers. The vibe that you get is like, and you're just getting this SMS, you're invited to respond. You're just saying any interest. Do you want this? Another really good way to say this would just be, do you want one? That might even be more direct. We've got the opt-out clause, which is super important. We need that as long as unless you need it the first time. And then I believe it's if you're texting them if they haven't received the message within 90 days, you need to include an opt-out clause again, but we don't have to talk about compliance right now. There's rules to follow, but yeah, the feeling that this creates is one that is more intimate than this, right? This is like looking at a billboard and 99.999% of people are just going to drive past it. And that's fine. That's all you can do with the billboard. It's not anything against billboards. That's the best you got. That's the best you could hope for with a billboard. But when you're sending an SMS to someone, you have the ability to make them feel connected or to invite them to create that connection, and people who want to make it do. And then when you get into actual conversation, there's like this, people literally, they have this experience of like, oh yeah, I know Ashley over at the local kickboxing studio. She hooked me up with a free 10-day pass. Like that's the actual buzz and energy that people end up walking into the studio with to buy their gym membership or to get the tour that's going to convert them on gym membership, whatever. And even the people who don't convert, we've got, you hear stories of clients who are like, yeah, people were just walking in and saying that their friend got a text message and they asked if their friend could have it, or somebody just walked in, they didn't even respond to the text message. They just showed their phone to the front and said, hey, I just got this text message, and the client's just getting results, not even, just from the one outbound SMS turned into a gym membership. And that's actually kind of sad because we can't track that result in high level. But those are just anecdotal stories of like the power and the effect, the overall effect, and how this is like far reaching even beyond just the actual responses, although this is the measurable stuff that we like. So that's all my soapboxing on the offer message. And I mean, it's just, it goes to show you that if you're the type of high level user that has spent the last 2 months crafting workflows and, like doing webhooks and looking into custom API and whatever else people get off into the weeds about. I can see Paulson's laughing over there. Like, it sounds like an issue. Like, just look at my workflow here. This is how we help 525 clients. Like this, we use this. I mean, there's other stuff on the back end for the actual appointment setting mechanics, but the main marketing strategy is that. So subsequent lead nurturing. What happens after people start responding? You send this out to a couple hundred people a day. You're going to get lots of responses. You're going to get good, bad, and ugly. And we'll talk about all of them really quick. First is bad and ugly. There's 2 types of opt-outs. And this is just my own personal, this is how I treat them. I call them hard opt-outs and soft opt-outs. Hard opt-out is somebody saying stop, unsubscribe, or cancel. If they say stop, you will not be able to send another text message to them. They blocked your number. They blocked your Twilio number. That's a Twilio protocol that gets them out. It's nothing to do with high level. It's any Twilio number has that hard coded into it, where somebody says stop, you're just not going to be able to text them again. And I guess I should put the don't be offended part under soft opt-out. Soft opt-out is just like somebody saying, I've moved away. Can you please remove me from the list? Can you please stop texting me? Can you please whatever? It's still your responsibility to make sure that you do remove them from the list. But the difference is that if they say just stop, the 4 letters, no exclamation, no nothing, You literally cannot text them if you tried. If they're just asking to be removed, you can say, have a nice day, take you off the list, mark them D&D, move on. And that's actually an incredibly good thing, that high level has a way to take care of D&D. And it's not just for the sake of literal compliance, but it's for the sake of adding confidence and adding value to the service you're providing to your client. I'll talk about that in a second. You'll even get people saying, okay.
Kaplan. So at this point, your clients, and this is a tough lesson I've learned personally when it comes to DBRs. At this point, your clients don't have access to high level.
Correct.
You guys understand that? Because when they see rejection about their business, it's personal. What? You came into my business and now you're opting out of my list and you don't want my services? It's an offensive thing, because we all care about our businesses a different way, especially when you're in it, right? So the part that you got to remember is, if the clients are not seeing all these opt-outs and they're not getting offended, the experience that you're providing as a marketing company is drastically different versus if you add your client into the mix of the conversations, then you pound the list and 90% is going to opt out or say no. Your clients are going to start doubting the things that you do. So it's just from an account management perspective, pay attention to the timing of what you involve your clients with and what's not necessary versus what's needed. Remember, they got to deal with all these bookings and sales calls and interactions at the front desk. Just wanted to add that in there because that's a tough lesson I've learned in the past when it comes to this.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it can even be a lesson for the agency too. You're like, shoot, this is my service, and somebody's responding F you, or, spammers, that's that, or all the other. There's an element of developing the heart, tough skin, like whatever, that we're in that industry for sure. So those things apply. But there's also other good explanations. The vast majority of people who respond, supremely negatively or, inappropriately or rudely, whatever, they just believe there's no human on the other end of the line there. And I've actually responded to some of them, people saying, F you. And then I'll just absolutely just like pop in there and be like, oops, looks like I may have got the wrong person, or something, like, oh, I'll take you off the list, or just saying, sorry about that, we'll take you off the list. They actually respond. They're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I just thought this was a robot. I was trying to, just send a message to the man or something. But like, I'll have people apologizing to me all the time. So that's one lesson that I learned about, just like, don't take it the wrong way, because the other thing is that some people just get spammed a lot. If their phone's in the wrong registry, they gave it to the wrong person one time, they're just getting spam texts. I'm currently getting like 3 or 4 political donation spams like a day right now. And so I just reply stop on principle. Like, if it's a number I don't recognize, I'm typing stop all day long. And some people are like that. And SMS is just not the best channel for that lead, and that's too bad. But overall, SMS is still amazing. So if you're getting lots, or as you're getting opt-outs, just know it's very normal. Some people don't want the offer; they'll ask to be removed, especially if it's a locally, if it's a geographically restricted service or business, and they've moved out of the area, and it's been a year since the database was cleaned or anything like that, or some databases have been around 10 years, right? Like, you just are going to have to deal with that. And that's actually a really good thing. And I want to talk about that for just a second.
And do you guys ask the clients like for the source of the database? Like, cause I don't know about you, but like if I'm working with like realtors, I want to make sure they didn't just download a bunch of so-called leads from like Info USA and then call it their own. And then all of a sudden you're in this wishy-washy situation, right? So do you guys do any kind of source check or anything like that? Or is that something that you even consider?
Great question. It's not something we had to deal with. We had the privilege of not having to deal with it directly in fitness with helping those clients. But yeah, for other niches, it can be a big issue. I've had agencies thinking they were running warm DR when they're really running cold outreach to leads who are not familiar at all with the business, never gave that business their info, never gave them their consent to receive marketing or promotional messages from them. And that usually goes very, very poorly in terms of conversion. So yeah, I highly recommend not trying to take on DR from a cold outreach perspective. There's usually better ways to do cold stuff or to do the actual, I guess, what is the true lead generation, how to get leads. DR is mostly effective when it's the leads that have already been generated sometime in the past, and or leads as they're being generated on into the future are always going to, fall into this seasonal rhythm of getting continually reactivated from here on out. But that's something I want to talk about for just a second, Holston, because like people, in my experience coaching this stuff, there's always just there's a tendency to just assume that opt-outs are bad, that it's all a negative thing, that this is, you got to take the bad with the good. And that's certainly true. But the way I've started reframing this and the way that has been really helpful for me to think through these DRs is from the perspective of list management and list stewardship. When you're taking on a new client, they've got, like Rob was saying, they've got their list in MailChimp or in their CRM or something, and 11 times out of 10, it's incredibly disorganized and they don't know what they're doing with it. Maybe they've sent out a newsletter to it once or twice, but they don't really see it as an asset, or if they do, they're very, very not confident and not knowledgeable in how to make the most use out of it. Having somebody to take that list and just organize it into something that makes sense and does so compliantly, following all the rules, that is already such a massive service that you provide to your client. So it's common for like there to be, a sales objection of like, well, I don't really have a big list. And, for a beginner salesperson, that'll just shut you down. Like, oh, if my entire service is DR and this person's telling me they don't have a big list, then I guess I don't sell them, right? Actually wrong. The opposite. If you don't have a list yet, you need my service 10 times more than the guy who does have the list, because we need to get you caught up, right? We need to make sure, like, if you don't have a list, it means the holes in your bucket, you don't even have a bucket yet. Let's at least get you a bucket, right? The holes in your bucket are so numerous that we can't even see the bucket. There's more holes than there are buckets.
Yeah, and to me, that's a perfect opportunity for the low ticket SaaS we talk about quite often. If they don't have anything prepped, what you can do is help them set up at least to capture some of those traffic and build them the list. And then maybe later on in life or later that year when they do have maybe 100, somebody asked, do I need to have a minimum of 1,000 people? No, you can have 100 people in there that you can have a fruitful month out of, believe it or not. So you can set it up just even at a low ticket SaaS. Maybe high ticket SaaS won't apply in that scenario if they don't have a list. But there's still ways around this. Everything we're sharing, guys, framework, think of it as a framework that you can leverage with your own strategies, okay? So Hopland, tell us more about the soft opt-outs. What happens after that? So you have that in place, and then what happens next?
Yeah, absolutely. And just before I pop on to the next thing, I just want to say, when you organize that list for your client, and after the first DR is run, you've set up your SaaS hooks, and now you're nurturing the list in order to ramp up for the next DR, getting results out of it and taking all the leads who slip through the cracks and making sure that they get, included in the next round of DR and adding on whatever services you have, whether it's ads, SEO, whatever. You're implementing a system in which no lead is ever going to slip through the cracks ever again. And so at first they give you a list of 2,000 leads. You book 40 appointments for them. So it's 2% booking ratio, probably more than that. I don't know. Over the course of the next, few weeks, you also say, hey, what happened is a 10% of your database opted out. Let's say that's 200. They had all moved away. You've got an old list, whatever. That's a massive plus. That's something that you should be smiling about, that your client should be smiling about, because, hey, before you had this list of 2,000 leads, you didn't know who they were, what they were, how many of those phone numbers were even good phone numbers. You didn't, how many of them were landlines, how many of them were even could receive an SMS, etc. And now what we've got is a bunch of appointments, and we've got this nice clean list that now we're going to start nurturing here. Every time you ever get an opt-out, I'm going to be the one who makes sure that lead never gets texted again. So we're never going to text people who don't want it. And we're going to take care of the people who do want it. And we're going to keep that nice and clean and well managed. And we're going to steward this list for you for the rest of your business. Now that client can really rest easy knowing they're getting the most out of that asset. They always knew, I've got this database of leads, but they never knew what they could do with it, how they could do with it. It's a massive uphill battle. They had no idea how to take advantage of that. And if they were going to try, then they're probably afraid that they're breaking the law or something. And honestly, they probably were. But you being the one to take good care of them and do things the right way and to provide that service to them is not only going to get them great results, but it's going to do so in a way that that helps them, that builds a lot of trust between them and their community, helps them engage their community in a more responsible way, etc. Okay, so that's taking care of opt-outs and why it's so important to manage the list ethically and be a good steward of it. Let's talk about the opt-ins. So that's everyone who responds negatively, they're done. People who respond positively, they say yes, they do want it. First message frames explicitly the purpose of the conversation and lists available times. A bonus if it sets the time frame. So you want to include in this first message if you're going to book the appointment. I say you'll thank yourself later because, if I just say, let me think of a good example. If I'm setting up more different hoops to jump through, like, oh yeah, we've got the 10-day pass all set up. Let me set you up with that now. You'll want to go download this app. That's how you book these CrossFit classes. And you can, pop in there, use this promo code, and that'll give you 10 free days of access, blah, 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 blah. Do away with all of that. That's all stuff that can be done when they actually set up and are actually a real sales opportunity yet. Just because they said yes to an offer doesn't mean they're even a real sales opportunity. They haven't become a sales opportunity until they've confirmed the date and time. So until that happens, forget everything else, make the entire conversation about getting a day and a time. Bonus if it sets the time frame. We used to say your 10-day pass is set to start tomorrow. It's automatically set to start tomorrow. When do you think you might like to come by? The point isn't that it's actually always on 100% of cases going to start tomorrow. We're always going to book that appointment for the next day. But sorry, did you want to hop in?
Is that manual? Because your workflow doesn't have like a follow-up step, does it?
I add them to another workflow.
Oh, got it. So that second step is pushing them over based on the reply that happens.
Yeah, so let me actually show you that really quick.
Yeah, so there's a condition there, guys, where this initial message goes out and the system is obviously dictating whether it's yes or no. If they say yes, then it goes into another workflow that Hapland has set up, right? Based on the intent that's there. Oh, you guys thought I didn't know all the tech, did you?
Yeah, and honestly, probably this is pulling from the old campaigns and trigger system that we migrated over to workflows, and the way that made the most sense to us. There's probably, you could figure out how to have your offer and lead nurturing be the same workflow, et cetera. I prefer it this way. There's more than one way to skin the cat, but
that makes sense. And guys, if you're still using triggers and campaigns, you're going to be in for a treat. It's going to go away. Okay. Get used to workflows. Get used to workflows. But tell us about this condition here. What's happening here, Hapland?
Okay. Hopefully this is all set up correctly. First thing that's going to happen, I mean, we do administrative stuff with the opportunity for reporting to the client, but is it a weekday? It's just going to be, it's asking if it's a weekday, because for us, we're typically booking people in for Monday if it's on the weekend. So literally this is the same message, but I just changed the verbiage because, like I said, we're bonus points for setting the time frame in the actual message. If I say this, I reserved a, let's go 10-day pass. Let's just get a good real example here.
And this is a separate sub account for the client that you have set up, right? You're not running clients under one sub account. Okay, cool.
No. One sub account per client. So this is an example of what I'd say. Done, I reserved, whoops. A 10-day pass for you, and it's valid starting tomorrow. Or I would say, and it starts tomorrow. Starts tomorrow. Around what time do you think you might like to come by? And what I would do is I would add an attachment here, and I would attach an image that I made in Google Drawings that uses the client's logo, says free 10-day pass, and then it says, Monday, the schedule, Tuesday, the schedule. If it's a class schedule, list the class times. If it's a just open hour gym, then just list the hours. And this applies to any niche, but if you're in the UK, you can't send a picture message. I would just include it right here, literally.
I've seen people do some really cool things with that attachment. They'll take a selfie picture of themselves and just waving, and they'll send that. Or
sick.
Do at the bottom that says sent by iPhone as part of the text, so it looks natural somehow. But people do some creative stuff when it comes to that. So based on them saying yes, this message goes out asking them for a scheduling at this point, right?
Yep. And this is incredibly important because it's just setting the context, it's setting the frame in which you're like subtly communicating and not so subtly communicating to the lead that there's one purpose to the conversation. Like I said, there's only one purpose, which is book a time and date for them to either have the call, come into the gym, whatever it is going to be. And unless we're doing that, there's not really anything else to talk about. We're not the customer support channel. We're not answering every question under the sun. Some of the questions are buyer-related questions, and we do want to answer them because they help the sales process, such as, what's your address? We want to answer that. That's a good question to answer. But getting off into the customer support realm is not going to behoove the client or us. So we really do a good, clear job of establishing the purpose of this, which is to create an in-person conversation where the sales rep for the institute or the client can deal with whatever. They can set the app up. They can, take you through the tour of the place. They can answer every question under the sun, et cetera. We're just going to be the conduit to get you to that point. So done, I reserved a 10-day pass for unit starts tomorrow. By the way, 90% of people will say, I can't come by tomorrow. And that's okay. We didn't say this because we thought everybody would be able to come by tomorrow. We did it so that when they say, I can't come by tomorrow, we respond with, oh, that's okay. I can reset it for any time this week when works best for you. And then they say the day, and then voila, we're booking most of our appointments for sometime in the next 2 to 3 to 4 days, which is incredibly important for show rate. If I just say you've got a 10-day pass, and like, congratulations, here's your 10-day pass, I send them a picture and it's digital, that person's never coming. Even if I ask when they do want to come, a lot of people, their natural frame is like, oh, well, I might have time in like 2 or 3 weeks to take advantage of this. Like, that's what the lead's thinking when they're saying yes in the first place. Oh, a 10-day pass. Yeah, I'll do this. I could probably do this sometime in the next 3 weeks. Then boom, it starts tomorrow. Oh, I can't make it tomorrow, but it's shifted them. It's really wrangled them into this frame where most of the appointments that I will set for this client now, some will be for tomorrow, and that's a great lead. I mean, you want to take advantage of that and jump on that for sure. But the ones who don't will be hopefully reinforcing the next 2 or 3 days, next 4 days, and then they'll actually have some good sales momentum and be more likely to show, as opposed to 2 or 3 weeks out and they'll just ghost. This is also incredibly helpful by listing the times here. It's like, look, I want you to look at your calendar and tell me what time you're coming. Like, it's a kind way of getting them onto that plane of thought, right? The weekend message, it's the same thing, but it just says it's valid starting Monday, because we're probably not booking appointments for the average gym on a Sunday, right? Or most clients just aren't open on Sunday. So the verbiage changes, but we still set the same kind of expectation. So that's the only difference with this if else kind of condition here. Everything else goes back into, there's some, I don't want to get into, this is a little hack on a 30-minute follow-up that we're not going to talk about right now. We just don't have the time, but you don't need this in order to have a good DR. The main portion of the rest of the follow-up takes place over the next 4 days. There's day 2, day 3, and day 4. We hit them up once a day. And
do you mind explaining the concept at least? So if somebody wants to just like watch this and just rebuild it themselves, they can?
Yeah, sure. So the 31-minute is, what happens is if they haven't responded yet, then we want to hit them up. But if they have responded, then we don't want to hit them up again. And the reason why that's important is because in the settings here, we have this to not stop on response. This is something people have different opinions about, but I have a strong opinion on it. With this system, we want to always have stop on response turned off, because they're not a sales opportunity until they've confirmed a date and a time. If they've responded to you and they've said, oh, let me check my calendar and I'll get back to you, and you say, great, just let me know, excited, and you have stop on response turned on, they've left your workflow. They're not going to, they'll look at their calendar. There's an 80% chance you're just not going to hear from them again. That's just the facts. Like, that's my experience. I've set thousands of appointments personally. I've sold gym memberships to people personally. I used to send reminders manually, but if I don't text them, they're not going to text me. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, 1 out of 100 will text me, and that's a really good lead. But most people will not text. So that's why I set up these actions to follow up with them. I pick it up in between 10:30 and 11 a.m. local. So this is 10:30, 10:34, 10:39, just to mix it up and make it feel human. I just push it off.
Do you ever throw in voicemails in here at all, or is that not even a thing for you?
We tested voicemails back in the
Enough bucket, Paulson, enough bucket.
Yeah, that's basically it. So we did, and it didn't significantly really contribute to much more result. And also trying to from a client management standpoint, it's really hard to white label voicemails. There might be a way to figure it out, but the way we were doing it is I was trying to get my client, hey, here's the script, say this, and we'll drop it in there. It was just too much for the onboarding process, and we cut it. I mean, it's possible to do. You can get every client to record a voicemail, send it to you as an MP3. But I mean, we had clients onboarding who didn't know how to do that. They needed to be sent links to recording software, or like told how to open the voice memos app on their phone. And we're just like, you know what, this isn't even really helping us that much. Screw this, get it out of there. And we book appointments almost like at the same rate. There's maybe like a little marginal effect, but it wasn't worth it from a client standpoint. So absolutely we trimmed that fat, and we, yeah, like Rob said, it's the enough bucket.
Yeah, so this tree that you have is like a 4-day follow-up on every single lead or every single customer that's in their database until they say no. If they say no in any of these scenarios, they'll go back to the original no tree. Is that right?
Not quite. So what's going to happen is anybody who says, let's just get out of that. We're going to start by sending the DR offer. And anybody who says no to this, let's say they just say no. That's an example of a non-opt-out. They're not interested, but they haven't opted out either. That's super, I probably should have done a whole thing on that. Super common for beginner agencies to being like, oh, they said no, I guess that's an opt-out. Wrong. If they say, please remove me, please stop texting me, stop, unsubscribe, cancel, those are opt-outs. If they're just saying no, thank you, keep them in the database, because you're going to text them again the next time you run DR. And it might be a better time to connect with them. So if they say no, they just finish, nothing happens. Or if they don't respond at all after a certain amount of time, how long do I have here? 5 days is just because you have to have a time frame in order to use the FLs. We've got, it just ends them, just ends, that's it. And the idea is that Go High Level itself, the sub account itself, is where their list lives now. If you set up hooks correctly, every lead they generate from now on is going to go through High Level first. At any point, whenever leads are slowing down, you've got other services going, ad cost is rising, whatever, you have the luxury of just pause ads. We've run them for a month, we got some results, let's pause and run another DR now. So at any point, you can restart this or clone this, change the verbiage a little bit, run another DR. And the idea is you're running DR at least 4 times a year. Just as in a rhythmic piece. So if they say no to the first one, this is why I was talking about, you don't really want to have more, don't text more than once, because if you make this workflow have 3 or 4 different days of follow-up, then you will just start massively increasing your opt-outs without really greatly increasing your opt-ins. But if you just send one text, you'll get your opt-ins, you'll get your opt-outs, and everyone else will get texted again in 3 or 4 months. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And from a list management perspective, you want to get used to tagging. You want to understand where these sources are coming in from. You want to, especially on the SaaS hooks, you may have multiple DBRs. You may have another DBR you got to run in quarter 2 or 3 on a different offer. So now you want to figure out how to segment the audiences that you're building for these clients. So you have yes and no on the opt-ins. If they say yes, they get added to the other workflow, which throws them into a conditional weekday, weekend system, right? And then they go through a 4-step nurturing campaign.
Yep. And this is just going to try to pick up the conversation easy and generic. There's some congruence issues here, and there are downsides to having the stop on response always turned off. You do have people who the whole point is you're trying to pick back up the conversation with people who have responded. The worst thing you can do, in my opinion, is let an opted in lead slip through the cracks. So if they're in this workflow, it's because they said yes to the DR offer. They want the thing. So now we do follow up with them once a day, if not a little bit more, with this little hack here for the next 4 days. The last day of follow-up, we do take away the carrot or introduce the stick. I'll cancel you today unless you let me know you're coming by. It's right here, just to let them know, like, this isn't going to be a forever thing. We're not planning on texting you every day. Sometimes this gets people in.
Stop me if I'm getting in too far ahead. But from
Oh,
in
God.
the process, where does the manual booking come in? Like, is it the client's booking on the calendar? Are you guys calling them confirming? And if there is a manual process, where does that start and end for from you guys as an agency?
Yeah, so whenever there's a response here, we automate the opting in piece based on 4 keywords. And I don't know if people really care about these details, but I'll share them anyway for sure.
I'm
Um,
I'm sure somebody who's more smarter than I am would.
yeah, for sure. So we segment them based on these 4 keywords. You could set up a bunch now. We used to have clone triggers, so that's why it's only 4. I mean, there's a bunch of different things. This covers, yeah, with an H, etc. So in practice, about 85% of positive responses will get segmented correctly automatically via the workflow itself. Sometimes people miss their keyword. That's what I call it. If they say yes, but they misspell it wrong, YAS. Actually, that's not even a misspelling anymore. Some people just like to say yes, but you could add that too as a condition. Yes. Yeah,
or
but if
or
people miss their
YA.
keyword, etc., whatever, or what?
You're missing a YA in there.
Oh, totally. Um, so yeah, that's an example of that. But it's also like not that big of a deal because we believe in human lead nurturing anyways. So we built this system. When Rob first hired me, I was literally doing this until I got maxed out at like 20, 30 clients. And then I started training a team of people. So we're doing this and now we outsource it. But we have human lead nurture. We have human eyes on every account that we're servicing. And that's the way we believe in doing it. So if somebody does miss their keyword, it's as simple as using the wonderful notification sender to pop into their sub accounts. And then you just 2 clicks of a button. I just manually add them into this trigger, the workflow trigger anyway. So it's not that big of a deal for somebody to miss their keyword. People like freak out about the automation not working. It's like, well, automation just saves you a little bit of time, but you should always know how to carry on the process of booking an appointment, even if you had no automation. I used to do this with not a single piece of automation. I had my phone, I was texting people, and thank God for High Level saving me from having to do that anymore. But
You mean automations don't replace human beings? Is that?
yeah, totally. It's nutty.
Yeah.
It's nutty. So
Is
so
this
yeah,
valuable information, guys? Give me some comments in the Facebook streaming, because we're showing you the back end of like a 400 grand a month agency with a simple system, whether you like it or not. It doesn't get simpler than this. And what they have is actually a little bit more than what you may even need, to be honest, to just get going with the basic system. Okay? Go ahead, Haplin. I don't want to stop you.
yeah. So I'm pretty much almost wrapped at this point, but you might be wondering, okay, well, when does the automation stop? Or like, it can't be right to just keep texting them and just be committed to that. Well, if they do, once we do get a time and day, now it's time to hand it off. We've done our job, time and day. That's when the lead has become a sales opportunity. That's when we pump the brakes on the lead nurturing.
So the client is seeing the appointments on their high level calendar, or you mean like their own Google Calendar? How do you guys set up that transition?
Yeah, let me show you right now. So when we've got an appointment set, this trigger is going to fire based on just any confirmed appointment. It's super simple. It's the trigger that gets them in. The first thing it's going to do is remove them from all workflows. So that's how the lead stops getting their lead nurturing follow-up. It's not set to stop on response. It's set to stop upon the appointment being booked, and that's super crucial. We send an email to the client here, just internal notification, and that's what we do. That's our starting point for everything. If they want to integrate a Google Calendar, we know how to do that as well, but it's not a mandatory part of the onboarding at all.
Hey, one more quick question for you. When you have that stop on response off, even if they
Mhm.
get booked in, wouldn't they continue getting the message or the flows, or do you have like a tagging system that turns it off?
No, it's actually this guy right here.
Okay, so as soon as they become an appointment, they get removed from all workflows. As soon as they become an appointment, even if they don't show up. So that's based on an event. Is that right?
No, yeah, it's based on the appointment being booked. So you asked about where the manual process is. I guess I didn't quite fully answer that. Anytime somebody responds to this lead nurturing, any of these lead nurturing messages, that's when a human being is required. So if any response to any of these days is a day and time, it takes a human who's sitting there to go ahead and take that conversation and punch him in. So let me just run through an example DR really quick if I can. Oh, I don't have my phone.
I feel like I want to go to the gym
Yeah.
through one of the calendars you guys set up.
So, oh, sorry, what?
No, I'm saying it's exciting once in a while. I feel like I want to walk into a gym that has this flow just to experience the flow.
Yeah.
But go ahead,
Um,
tell us what you have going on the appointment side.
cool. So anytime somebody responds to any of these follow-up messages, it takes a human to punch this in. And you would add a new one. I'll just do it really quick for us. So this is a human effort. Humans doing this. Entry level person can do this. And then if I haven't messed anything up, high level might take a little second here, but it will activate that workflow. And it's the activation of the appointment workflow that will, trigger all these steps. And the first step is to remove from all other workflows. So it's not an action related to the lead nurturing workflow itself. It's just the first action in the appointment workflow is going to just get them out of the lead nurturing. Then we notify the client, we create the opportunity. And here with, it's important. We really love this opportunity source, by the way. I don't update it for the appointment because we use the same appointment workflow for appointments from every source. But back in the lead nurturing workflow, you'll notice there was an appointment or an opportunity action as well. And that's where we would denote that. So we're creating the opportunity in the opt-in stage in the opportunity sources database reactivation. We would just call database reactivation a source. And that's how I have it set up. If you wanted to, like you were talking about, get super granular with DRQ1 or Q2, et cetera, then you could totally do that as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I've seen from top agencies is that when they set up notifications that goes out to the clients, they're very careful of how they position that. So like you guys said, Fit Club Accelerator. So what I would do is like from Fit Club Accelerator, here's another gym membership that's on your appointment. From FCA, like it should really get indoctrinated to the point they're just getting ping, 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 ping to the point they're like, dude, I can't ever let Rob go.
Yeah, exactly. This is a really nice notification to receive. And well, I won't get too off into the weeds with that. Then, we're just replacing the lead nurturing follow up with appointment confirmation and reminders. This is, you guys got a recipe for this. I mean, I did build this, but it was reinventing the wheel by the time workflows came around because, we've been doing this a lot longer than High Level's been around, but High Level's got a great recipe for it. You could probably just use that. Notice how everything we're doing here is SMS. I'm not sending a single email in this. Well, we use the emails for an internal notification on the back end with the client, but the lead experience is 100% SMS. It's just where the results live. It's the enough bucket, like Rob was talking about. So that's honestly it for DR. And then we do basically the same thing with every other source. We get into a rhythm of getting results out of the database and then nurturing the database with other sources. So all the organic sources and all their paid source from whatever other kind of services we're doing, SEO, ads, whatever. That is, we're getting results from that, and that's great. But also all the leads who would have slipped through the cracks in the old model are now just chilling in the database, which now actually lives in High Level. It doesn't live in the CRM. And that's another big retention piece is, it's hard for your client to want to let you go because you've been gathering all their leads and taking care of them from all these different, variety of sources. And sure, you could, if they want to quit, you could export them and just send them the big long list. And they're just going to be looking at the rat's nest, a single, Excel export or a CSV file of thousands of leads. And that's not going to be of service to them. They'll be back where they were before you got on with them to take care of their list for them. So if their list lives within High Level now, you've got the ability to run whatever services, run all the lead gen, do all your thing, get awesome results out of sending a text message to every lead as soon as they opt in, book appointments the same way, get way better results from that. You generate 100 leads in a month instead of 1 or 2 walking in through the doors on their own. Now you're getting 50 or 60 of them to actually respond to the text message, hop into a conversation, feel well taken care of, 30 to 40 book their appointment, you get a 65 to 75% show rate and 50% close rate. And now your client's actually, closing 20 to 30 new memberships a month from your Facebook ads instead of 1 to 2. And then on top of that, even at closing 25 or 30 gym memberships in a month from 100 leads, I mean, that's killer. Gym owners would kill for that, right? They'd absolutely kill for that. They'd trade their left arm for that. And even then, you've still got 70 other leads you generated that month. What happened with them? Some of them had half conversations, they fell off. Some of them showed for an appointment, but didn't close on membership. Some of them just ghosted. Some of them were bad phone numbers. Some of them were this and that and the other. But even in the best case scenario, you still got the vast majority of leads were not closed on membership. So where do they go? In the old model, they just sail off into the sunset. Nothing ever happens with them. The owner never follows up. The client doesn't know what to do with them. But in the new model, now they get picked up by database reactivation. And you have this wonderful, it's like an exponential benefit thing where you're getting better results from the ads, and actually on into the future, it's going to make DR that much better too. And that's why database reactivation is super important for everyone. It doesn't matter what service you're running, what lead sources you're doing, where you're getting their leads from. If you're buying them from Zillow, or if you're this or that, you follow up with them immediately. But then wherever they came from, everybody gets DR 3 or 4 times a year. So that's like the synergistic piece that DR just plugs in, fills all these gaps. And especially if you ever run into common Facebook ad problems like, the burnout, or, the offers kind of staling out after a few months, or I'm not super keen on the Facebook ad side. That's Betsy's domain, but, just common problems that I've heard of, the or the cost per lead is just rising, right? And you're trying to, instead of taking a week to try to, get into the nerdy details and try to figure out how to fix these ads, how to keep them sustainable or whatever. Now you just pause them. Oh, we'll pause ads. We'll run DR for this month, and then we'll turn ads on again next month, and then it'll just be gangbusters again. So it really helps to be able to take that pressure off something like ads or other services when they're not, performing stellarly, and just allow time to refresh that process, buy you time in order to really fix your other services, et cetera. It just like smooths everything over when you have DR always in your back pocket.
And I think it takes fulfillment pressure off of you for sure as an agency, but more importantly, you take pressure off the client's sales ability, right? Because when they have to deal with cold leads, it's a different skill set versus them having to sell somebody that's already in their database that more than likely interacted with them or purchased from them, right? So you're taking a lot of pressure off of them on the sales side. So Haflin, quick question. Where does the backend SaaS flow into this mix? Because what you showed me is what you would deliver for that high ticket front end, 5,000, right? Or 10,000, or, I've seen people charge a lot more money, to be honest. But either way, where does the backend SaaS play? Like, where does that come in?
Yeah, so when we're first onboarding them, we've got sweet granular permissions and settings when you set up a new user. And when we're first onboarding them, I would send them a video specific training on how to mark appointment outcomes. That's one of the big important things that high level is really baller for. Appointment outcomes, there's lots of different ways to approach appointment outcomes, but we had, and I never know if it's just me having the privilege of having a good niche for this, or if it's Robb having the privilege of being on Robb's team, where we actually tackled this stuff more intentionally and effectively than anyone else ever did. But in most niches, we have 3 appointment outcomes is what I teach. There's only 3. There's one, there's loss, and there's no show. And this actually pulls on or plays into the high level software, the UI anyway. So if I've got an appointment here, I've got the ability to mark them as lost and won, and that's beautiful. And then I've also got a no-show stage that we just have set up as a third bucket. And I will teach my client, for every single 10-day pass that comes into your gym, you do this for them, and there's no other outcome. You either close them on day 1 using our day 1 closing sales script, you did not close them on day 1, or they no-showed. People say, oh, well, what if they just want to start their pass? They're going to close on day 10, or they just need to talk to their wife about it. They're going to be a be-back. They're going to be this and that. Okay, that's totally fine. Mark them as a loss. They're lost, because if they do be back, if they do show up on day 10, if they do want to join in the future, guess what? You can jump in there and you can go mark them as one again. You can filter the loss, and here's how you do that. And now you've won your $2,000 sale. That's beautiful. But if they don't, and a lot of the times they won't, especially in fitness, a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to use this pass and I'm going to think about it. And then they never use the pass. They never think about it. They're on the couch for the next year. So it's better to just mark them as lost and move on. If they didn't show, then you mark them as no show. And really why I love this and believe in it so much is because in the old system, in all of my days, there's no way that we could really effectively do no-show stuff. I mean, I always did no-show follow-up when I worked at the gym, and it was crucial. Like within 15 minutes of an appointment being missed, if I'm looking at my watch, like, hey, I knew I had someone coming in, I'm texting him again saying, hey, where are you? And that's I'm not, hey, where are you? But looks like we missed you. When's a better time to come by? And taking another swing at the show rate. This is crucial. It's integral to show rate. When I started working for the agency, we're using all these other tools and ClickFunnels, Zapier, Skippy, all this other stuff. I'm like, it's really hard to deal with show rate because I'm not there. I don't know when a show is. The only way to really get the show info is and if I try to get the client to email me every time he has a no-show, that's not really scalable because we've got 50 clients now, and I'm getting like 100 emails a day from different no-shows. I'm trying to log in all these different accounts, mark these no-shows myself. Not scalable at all. High Level's got a beautiful no-show system where you can you can automate any action. We have the pipeline stage change over to no-show, and I teach people how to drag people over to no-show. But then we've got automation on the back end that automatically picks that lead back up. So it's a really effective way. We can hand the lead off to the client confidently saying, take care of the sales. And usually that's a one-way street. Take care of the sale. And if they no-show, then you've got to call them, or that's too bad or whatever. But now to actually make that a two-way street and give the client one simple, effective way to pass that back onto the agency's plate via where's my no-show rebooking right here.
So what you have is automations for stage changes, right?
Yeah. So just to quickly show you this really quick, it's just client marks the appointment a no-show. It's based on the pipeline stage change. If they head into no-show, then boom, done. And guys, this is almost a copy and paste of that lead nurturing campaign I showed you. The first one is different. It says, looks like we missed you. When do you think you might like to reschedule? It's pretty generic. And then like these, I'm pretty sure just copy and paste from the original lead nurturing. This, yeah, look at this.
That's beautiful. So quick question. Where does the backend SaaS play? It's basically access to lead nurturing that they would have to basically get. Is that really what it is, or?
Yeah, so that's exactly where I was headed. Sorry, I kind of had to lay the context really quick, but that's exactly where I'm headed now. So when we're about to launch DR, we help the client get into their client portal. We send them their logins, and their job as our done for you client is just to see their calendar and mark their opportunity outcomes, mark their appointment outcomes, and you've got 3 outcomes. So yeah, that was that whole piece. And the client learns how to do that in a quick training video from me, walking them through their client portal. And this is the beautiful client portal, and where we can see all the money that you're making, and I'm laying out the benefits of the no-show thing the way I just explained it. That's huge for the client. That's a massive, massive service that you're providing to the client at that point. Being able to take care of their no-show follow-up for them, it wasn't possible before this. Like I looked into other solutions to do this, and there were none that were so scalable and so easy for an agency to actually accomplish. Oops.
Yeah, and don't forget, you have mobile side too. You can download this on their phones and be like, yo, just change the status whenever things are happening. That's all you
totally. So here's the kicker for our done for you clients. We're selling people done for you. When Ryan's on the phone closing a gym owner, it's all in the context of done for you, if it can be. In an ideal scenario, we're onboarding and done for you. When I'm setting up their stuff, I set them up. Their client portal does not look like this. Their client portal has almost everything turned off. The only thing they can see is calendar, dashboard, opportunities. That's pretty much it. I don't even let them see conversations. They don't need it. I don't let them see automation. They don't need it. I don't let them see anything besides what's needed to see all the money that they're making in the dashboard and see their appointments in the calendars if they so choose, and mark their opportunity outcomes. So that's all of what the client's dashboard is, and that's all we ever want them doing as a done for you. And where the long-term retainer comes from is basically if they're having a conversation about wanting to change that, then we can facilitate that for them. So we'll basically use SaaS or just, a do-it-yourself version. We'll say, yeah, we've got a do-it-yourself version too. We can show you how to do all these things, whatever, and get them into a quick, mini course on it and retain them at $500 a month or something like that. If for some reason the done for you scenario is not working out, or if they want to graduate to a do-it-yourself, or they, care and want to learn more, et cetera, we've got that option for them. Or in some of our cases, we might downsell them on the sales call itself if they're not going to close as a done for you client. So our main path is done for you, high ticket, in which case the entire software from the client's perspective is really just their little client portal where they mark their opportunity outcomes. And that's all they ever see of the software. And that's how we like it, to be honest, because we'd rather be in control and do our thing that we do best. It's the reason they paid us in the first place. But then we have the ability to open up all their stuff and teach them how to run their own DR if it's going to work better like that. So that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100% it does. And I'm a big fan of essentialistic thinking, of like simple the better. One thing is the better than everything. And for you guys to have proof in the pudding where we can be like, yo, SaaS is not like a fantasy. This is a realistic scenario of a multi-million-dollar agency that is not built on Facebook ads, that is not built on Google ads or SEO or any web services or branding or anything that doesn't matter except for filling the calendars, right? What a beautiful story. Haplin, tell us a little bit before we close out, and I know we're almost at the very end. We'll do a quick Q&A. What are some do's and don'ts that you would recommend when it comes to this whole system? Like, what are some of the, the ugly truths behind it, and the great things about it that you've noticed that you didn't notice before?
Yeah. I mean, one of the big ones was, honestly, I kind of already talked about and encapsulated in this kind of stuff at the beginning. This is a very common mistake, is to treat it like it's super, like it's advertising, and it kills the intimacy piece is so important for the power of SMS, and making someone feel like they know somebody over there who's sending out this text, not like it's on the slide, but it's almost just kind of like an offhand, like this isn't an official campaign. You get the feeling that this isn't, Ashley's not the marketing director over at the pressure washing thing who's like thought this is a great idea for a new campaign. And so it's got this real like reversal on typical kind of, it bypasses a lot of the sensitivities people had to feeling like they're being sold or feeling like they're being talked at, especially in an age where there's so much spam and so much advertising everywhere. Getting around those, or doing it in a different way that feels actually more connective and more responsible. I've like really come to believe in this as like a more like ethical way to approach engaging a community on behalf of the business, right? In a way that really takes care of the lead and how it really helps the business. So that's a really big one. A lot of times, to get down into a little bit of the nitty gritty, people make the big mistake of, when they try to take this stuff over, they either get their client to do all the lead nurturing themselves, like, oh, I just set it up and I launched DR and now I got my client access to their conversations tab, and now the client has to do all this. And that's been a really, really, really dangerous pitfall for a lot of agencies, including us. When we tried that at first, we quickly were like, oh, no, these people don't know what they're doing. There's principles to follow while you're lead nurturing. It's the same way why you wouldn't have, the janitor just join the sales team, right? Like, you got to be good at sales to do this, and lead nurturing is an extension of the sales process. So a perfect example is like, if I send out that 10-day pass offer and somebody gets back to me saying, well, how much does membership cost? You got to know how to deal with that question. If I just say, well, first of all, I probably shouldn't know the answer to that question anyways, because if I know the answer to that question, I need to know it for 50, 70, 100 clients, and that's not scalable. So that knowledge isn't even scalable in the first place. Second of all, even if I did know, if I say, yeah, Paulson, it's $150 a month, bye-bye. I'm never going to hear from you again. You got your question answered. You feel I don't know how you feel, but you're not showing up and you're not buying a gym membership. You're probably just like, oh, that's too expensive. I'm not going to do it anyways. So what's the point of the 10-day pass? But if I say, great question, we've got a few different options depending on your specific situation around what time do you think you might like to come by to go over some details. I'm actually upping the ante in terms of the membership question. I'm saying, oh, you're a good, fit for membership, then you should definitely come by. And I've even gotten to the point of like texting leads back and forth saying like, if you're not super interested in coming by, then you're probably not going to be a good fit for membership anyways, and doing all kinds of, takeaways and stuff like that. So having good sales chops and understanding how lead nurturing is an extension of the sales process is super important. And that will help you really take care of systematizing this effectively, not thinking you can just dump it off on your clients who are not going to get to it timely manner. When they do get to it in an untimely manner, they're going to say the worst possible things you could ever imagine from a sales perspective to try to get people converted. So, I've got some do's and don'ts down here in terms of why this is a good answer to that question, because it affirms the lead, it neutralizes the question itself, and then it reorients with a question of our own to go back to that frame. That's why it's, again, so important to have this. When I said you'll thank yourself later, where was this? First message frames explicitly the purpose of the conversation. You'll thank yourself later. This is so that you can confidently reset that frame over and over and over again. When you start with what time do you want to come by, it really helps you later when you're needing to reframe that. So all these things kind of work together strategically. From a tech perspective, this stuff is easy as anything. But from a buyer psychology perspective, from a sales perspective, a lot of this stuff is actually very nuanced. And you've either got to be good yourself, or you've got to have a simple way of training people how to do it if you want to scale that. And so that was something that was basically my entire bread and butter. The reason why Robb hired me is because I was good at this, because I was good at training people on this. So that's a big don't have your client do their own lead nurturing unless they've been very properly trained. Do it yourself and use it. Your first client has an opportunity to really learn how to talk to these people. I mean, niche down, not just because it helps you manage your clients better, but because you understand the lead psychology too. You understand their clients. You understand your client and your client's clients, and you understand how to talk to them. And you can use the beautiful, wonderful message library over here in Evo Marketing. We've got, you can templatize every answer under the sun. This reset verbiage, be happy to reset your 10-day pass for whenever. I use mirroring there, so I would always manually type that in. I'll be happy to reset your pass for Monday. Around what time do you think I might come by? If I can pencil in a time, I'll be able to reserve a pass for you with this happy face. I sent this message was like over half of all the lead nurturing messages that I manually send. Obviously, the campaigns are doing a lot for me, but then when somebody says I can't come by tomorrow to that first message or whatever, I send this guy, and this was like 60 to 70% of all the messages that I ever sent in Go High Level was this, and it worked. It worked great.
Just an observation is a lot of the messaging you have is very humanized versus, it doesn't feel like it's a robot or some kind of machine that's sending it. And I really think, like, even emojis, I'm telling you, emojis go crazy on the percentages of replies. If you have an emoji in there, people assume a person had to be there to put an emoji in the message, right? Like,
Right.
there's so many biases that we have just doing texting. But
Right up until you're getting like super spammy MLM messages with like 2 emojis per sentence, and it's chock-full, and you're like, whoa, I'm out. So there's definitely that too. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, you're good. This is awesome, guys. It's crazy that, like, I don't even see a point in offering Facebook ads though. Like at this point, if you have a database that is sizable enough, that's going to take you into several months. You don't need to run a massive list every single month. Your business owners cannot handle any more than 8 hours a day of appointments. They're going to go to lunch for an hour. They're just going to walk in and walk out 30 minutes in the beginning and the end of the day. That leaves them with like 6 hours of actual quality time of being able to manage clients and customers, right? So how much do you really need? That enough bucket is really, it's not as big as you think it is for a lot of these clients, right? Robb, if you feel like we can come back in for a second, Robb, if you're available, I know you're going through answering some of those questions, but I want you to share a little bit about share a little bit about how people can
What?
find your group. And I'm already getting a lot of questions about, guys, can we have this snapshot and all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
Um, but I want you to talk about how people can find out about your group, because I know that's something that we had
Yeah.
talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just, making jokes. I try to be funny. I'm not going to quit my day job. Don't worry. I know I'm not that funny. Thank you for the people who are like, not funny. I'm like, I know. That's
The
why
only
I'm doing
reason I
this.
work
Not
for you is because you're funny.
no. It's because you get to laugh at me. That's different than being funny. Laughing at me and laughing with me, two different things. Sorry.
Yeah. Potato.
Um, all right. Yeah, and lots of good questions. I can tell the people who have been paying attention this time and conceptually, Haplin's going through the details and lights on, things are clicking. You're like, like aha moments are happening. And then I could tell people who are either dipping in or distracted or who are impatient, and you guys are flying all over the place. Okay. So to the first person, thank you for paying such close attention. We try to cover as much as we can. Even though it's been 10 plus hours of live content, we obviously still can't teach you everything in that period of time. So for some of you, that's a limiting factor, and I understand, but we can't answer thousands of questions in full granular detail in step-by-step fashion. Okay, it's just impossible in this format. To the people who did click, have it click conceptually, that's what we wanted for you to walk away with. At the beginning, I talked about this, right? Why are Paulson and I spending a whole day telling stories, talking about data, talking about track history, talking about record? A lot of you guys are like, just get to the freaking point. It's like, well, there's a reason why. All right. If you skip over the concepts, what's going to happen is you're going to be in the middle of a text message and you're going to do the opposite thing of what Haplin is found to work every time. All right. We've been doing this long enough to just know and tell. Okay. That's what you're going to do. You're not going to get as good of a result. You're not going to have a repeatable process. You're not going to be able to charge high ticket. They're going to come back and say, this doesn't work. And then we're going to go, well, show me what you did. And it's not going to be anything like we showed you today. Okay. So I'm just letting you guys know this is always how it is. Okay. And we're used to this, but if that's you, then go and watch the whole thing start to finish. Get a video speed controller. It's a Chrome extension. Put it on 1.5x or 1.8x and scrub through the slow parts. Okay, I'm not saying to skip stuff, but speed it up. You can easily turn a 10-hour training into 5 hours or less, probably like 3 or 4. Okay, doing that, but consume it all. Get the whole picture. All right, so that's the first thing. If that's you and you're already there, fantastic. Okay. If you haven't arrived there yet, do that. Okay. There's free replays in the Facebook group. It's a little beyond me how you're a digital marketer and you don't understand that it's being live streamed in the Facebook group and you're asking where the replays are hosted. This is the replay. It's in the Facebook group. Click on media and or videos in the group, and all of this stuff is there with the comments and questions and everything. So I think Paulson's putting it on YouTube too, but just watch the replay in the Facebook group. Okay. There's nothing else to do. That's it. It's right here. It's always been available to you. It's here now. All right. So do that. All right. Some of you have been DMing me too with questions like this, and I'm just like, holy cow, it's right here. You're there. You're already there. You don't need to look anywhere else. It's there. Okay. Other part of this. Okay. You're asking about the snapshots, better, deeper questions. Things that we know the answer to, but it's really hard to write in a sentence or two in a comment, Facebook comment. Okay. So this is the deal. Let me just, so go to our group. All right. So this is at robbailey.com/group. It's 3 B's, ROBBBAILEY.com/group. Everyone private Facebook community there. It's all agency owners. There's no Yahoos in there. Or very few. If there are, they get kicked out real fast. Tell my team you're at the workshop. Okay. Post your extended questions there if you have them. Okay. You're welcome to just post them here in the thread where you're seeing this video, hopefully, in the high level Facebook group. Also, the snapshot, Haplin, showed you, we offer in our free course. Okay. When you join our group, there's a free course you can get access to. My team's gonna just message you, private message you when you join the group. Make sure you're a real person, not a scammer or a spammer or a fake profile. We want to work with real people. Keep the quality high in the group so that it's not full spam and garbage and stuff. There's a step-by-step training on how to do all this stuff. Set up your DR, set up your lead nurturing system, set up your snapshots. I was hoping we could get to that today, but I think what Hapland covered was more important, to be honest. Okay. So the literal step-by-step of like, you've got a blank high level screen in front of you, a clean sublocation. How do I set this up from start to finish? That's in our free group. When you join the group, we're going to give you logins to a membership area in the course, step-by-step training videos. You can go through that there. Okay. So a lot of you had some great questions about that stuff, some advanced things about the campaigns and workflows and what to say and what not to say. We can cover all that there. All right. That's probably a better venue so that we don't muck up, you know, the high level group with specific questions about how we do that. Right. Our method. So join the group. That's it. That's literally the only call to action we have. There's a ton of other stuff in there, guys. There's a ton of other niche related stuff in there. We've helped niche every local niche you could probably think of by now. All right. And if we haven't covered it, we at least know the principles like the appointment type and how to get, you know, it's all this stuff becomes very similar at some point. And so all the like, but my niche is different questions. They're really easy to answer. Okay. Hop into the group, come on in. My team of 18 staffs that group. So if someone responds to you and you're like, who is this? It's either a trusted member of our group or a team member of mine. So, you know, it's not your average group where there's just a free for all in there. You don't know who these people are. We don't know who the people are. Like you might be getting bad advice from someone. Most people in our group understand this methodology because they've been hanging around for a while. Okay. So is that what you wanted me to say at this point? Okay. Yeah, there's no pitch. Some people are like, well, where's the pitch? Like how much is that's not what this is for. Okay. I know that it might seem natural, but if you haven't noticed this at the beginning, Paulson said this is going to be a little different. And we told you that we operate a little different in our camp too. And literally the purpose of this was just to open some loops, have you guys sit in those open loops, absorb some new strategies, understand the why behind a lot of this stuff. You can do anything you want with high level. If you could build a rocket ship and go to the moon with this thing, and that's what you want to do, fine, do it. I'll be the first person to give you my blessing. Okay. But if you want a predictable, repeatable process for getting your clients results with minimal inputs, and you want to get everything you want out of your life with this agency model, and you want to use high level to do it, I've never found a better way to do this. Okay. And some of you guys mentioned my good friend, Mike Cooch, teaches a different methodology for this. And we argue about it all the time. He's one of my great friends. Every time I go back home to San Diego, I have a drink or we go to dinner or something. And we kind of talk smack to each other like we're playing one-on-one on a basketball court, because his model is great too. Is a little bit more small ball. Mine is a little bit more like, if you just learn one skill, you can dunk on your opponent every time. Why wouldn't you do that? Yeah. Right. And he's a little bit more like, well, not everyone's as tall as you, Rob. Like I'm not as tall as you. And, you know, it's like, and we go back and forth on this thing. They're both good models. But if you see what you want to get out of this thing, your solvable problem gets met faster with this. This is the best vehicle I know of to get there, and it can happen fast. We help people get there fast all the time. I'm talking days and weeks, not months and years. Okay. So my team is full of people like Hapland and Ryan. You haven't had a chance to meet Betsy or some of the other people on our team, but they're all badass. They're all better than me. Okay. A lot of you guys are like, yeah, like why did Rob even talk? Like, and that part I agree with. Like my stupid ass shouldn't even be on here. We just have Paulson and Hapland jam in, Ryan and Paulson jam it. Like, you know, that part I agree with. But if you like this, you're gonna love our group because it's mostly them. I'm just, you know, the dude who is the get off my lawn, grumpy, bald guy who's getting gray and, you know, hoping to retire soon. So,
Rob, there's a few things that I want to share as well here.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Let me just go ahead and share my screen. So, guys, just so you understand, let me give credit to where credit's due. Okay, Rob sometimes is a little hard on himself. What I know about Rob is that he knows how to put a team together for the right thing that is better than him, and he recognizes it and puts his team in a place of success and meets the market where they are, right? At the end of the day, with the business that he has, he's meeting the market. Okay, so that's what you got to really understand and learn. Just a few things that I want to highlight. If you go to gohighlevel.com/testimonial, I'm not going to beg anybody to do this, but if you do this and leave a video testimonial for our education efforts, what I'm going to do is give you access to our SaaS Fast Track program. The SaaS Fast Track program is just like any other SaaS courses that we have. It's the high levels course of teaching you how to do this. It's $2,000 typically, but you would get it for free if you leave me a video testimonial. If you're on the pro account, if you're a pro user, you get this for free already. You can just enroll and turn that on. But if you go ahead and go to gohighlevel.com/testimonial, leave a testimonial for Rob, Ryan, Haplin, their team, and also High Level and all of our education efforts, I personally would appreciate it, and I'll also turn on the $2,000 course for you completely for free. It's not even an offer. I'm just inviting you to do it. You're not required to do it. We've got plenty of assets to run marketing with, but I'm just slowly building up my own assets as well, right? But anyways, guys, I appreciate all of you. I don't want to make this video and this recording any more bigger than it is. There's a lot of content in here. We're going to have all this loaded up into the YouTube channel. Both Rob, Ryan, Haplin, these guys, myself. We're going to continue answering questions in the Facebook group. And if you're not a high-level user and you're not in the group, I recommend you getting on a trial. And I know a guy named Rob Bailey that you can get a link from, okay? So reach out if you want to. If you're on the YouTube channel watching this and you're not a high-level user, I don't know what to do, but just tell you to go to gohighlevel.com and you decide when you want to move over to this side of the world of marketing. But congrats to all of you. Rob, I want to just personally thank you. I know you had to work with me quite a bit on getting things, set up and built out, and we'll do this again. Next month, we've got Alex Shalinsky in the queue. I've got pretty big names that are almost booked out for the whole year. Mike Cooch is going to be in line. A couple of other big names as well that's going to teach all kinds of different business models, okay? Rob, any final words for you as we close out the workshop?
Yeah, in our group, we'll help you get your account set up and everything. We actually offer a 30-day free trial because we're one of High Level's top partners. And so if you're not on High Level yet, hop in our group and we'll give you a 30-day trial instead of the 14-day trial that's public on the website. And our team will actually help you set all this stuff up step by step. So Haplin and Ryan and I will help you get set up. There's at your pace videos in there, but we're also willing to help personally. So it's not if you rather, because like this is what most people say. They go in, they see the course, maybe from High Level, but they sign up and they're like, sheesh, a blinking cursor on a blank screen is still a blinking cursor on a blank screen, right? Like, where do I start? And so our whole goal is Haplin will teach you in 20 minutes how to get the tech set up to do all the stuff he taught you today. And in under an hour, you can actually be like testing your active database reactivation campaign using what we showed you today. All the goodness and Haplin's thing can just be easily copied over to your account. It's not hard to do. It's just clicking buttons, really, and listening. And that we found is what we call the first activation point. And so once you hit the first activation point and you understand how this stuff works and the tech intimidation goes away, that's when the light bulb goes off for most people and they can move forward and they can go make money with this. So all that's in our group. If you're welcome to do whatever you like, of course, but if you want that kind of help and you enjoyed the stuff that we dropped today, hop on over and just let our team know. Just raise your hand and say, hey, I want that kind of help, and we'll help you out from there.
Awesome, man. And guys, we're doing this completely for free. Rob charges thousands of dollars on consulting. Trust me. I know.
No, I've actually, when I turned my camera off, I was like hacking all of your computers and extorting money from your account. That's why we've been going so long, guys. I didn't know if you, I'm kidding. Again, I'm not going to quit my day job.
I work for you, Rob.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, guys, continue asking the questions. We'll interact with you as much as we can. We all still have real businesses to run instead of a coaching thing. But at the end of the day, this is to serve you. This is to continue helping you scale. And I was on a call earlier today, and I was literally strategizing with the guy who was building his agency, and I'm like thinking to myself, man, this guy is literally getting full insights to how to build an agency just because he has a subscription to High Level, and that's a powerful thing where we're doing all kinds of stuff for education, marketing, sales, and you're bringing in top players to share their ideas. You're not gonna find another environment like this, okay? But I appreciate all of you. I hope you do the hard work that's required on picking up those freaking phone calls and making the sales happen. Okay, if you don't move the needle, we can't move it for you. But at the end of the day, I appreciate all of you. Have a good rest of your afternoon. Keep in touch.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you.